Good afternoon. The right message should be good noon. I want to thank, first off, Sean for pulling together this kind of last-minute lunch with books. We have the pleasure of having a composer of a piece that's going to be presented on Friday night's concert that's being sponsored by Mr. Paul Tucker, who's in the audience. Thank you, Paul. If you don't have tickets for Friday night's concert and would like to attend, call the box office, and as a little perk of you being at lunch with books, tell them that you happen to see the composer in residence, and if you get his name right, we'll give you 2 free tickets for the evening. So please join us Friday night. It's my pleasure to turn it over to Maestro André, Raphel, and our composer in residence for this week, Avner.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Lunch with Books. So tomorrow night, we have the great pleasure of presenting our next concert, which features music by Dorman, Vivaldi, Haydn, and Mozart. This program features the world premiere of a work by Avner Dorman. We've been wanting to present Avner's music for some time here to try to find a way to bring him to this community. And so I'm very happy that we'll have this opportunity to present his music as part of a chamber orchestra program. Avner, welcome again. Let's talk a bit about the piece that you've written, which is incredibly moving. The title of the piece is Prayer for the Innocents. What's the origin of this piece, and how did the title come about?
So, thank you, André. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here and see you all. I hope what I have to say is interesting, but hopefully my music is interesting enough by itself. This piece, Prayer for the Innocents, it had multiple sort of an interesting growth. This is, as you said, the work premiere of the orchestra version that I made of it. I wrote it as a double string quartet. I think that was in 2008. And actually, some ideas in the piece are even from earlier, from my second string quartet from 2004. And that's where the term Prayer for the Innocents comes from. If you remember, there was this incident in Beslan, Russia, where a group of Chechen rebels took over a school, an elementary school, and held hundreds of children and their teachers hostage for several days, and killed, I don't remember how many, but a lot of the children, more than 100 children and teachers were killed, if I remember correctly. And it was an event that really had a very, very strong impact on me. We see a lot of stuff on the news, but sometimes something really touches you. And this event really did. And I remember the Archbishop of that area they gave a eulogy after everything was over, and he called it Prayer for the Innocents, because he was like focusing on the innocence of these children that died there. And that was just something that just stayed with me for a long time, and I just had to do something with it.
This piece is very spatial. As you mentioned, it's written for string orchestra, but divided into 2 groups, into, as I'm facing you, a left and a right string orchestra. And I'm very curious to know, and I think folks here would be curious to know how this aspect of it came about, how the spatial sort of conception came about.
Well, the idea of the fact it's essentially two-string orchestras. Of course, it's two halves if you just count the number of people, but in my mind, it's really a double-string orchestra. Double-string orchestra, and sort of to me, that's metaphorically some of this feeling of division that we have in our world. Again, with this incident, it was the division between those Chechens and the Russians. And growing up in Israel, I was very much always aware of the division between Israelis, Jews, and Arabs. But to me, again, I don't remember who these children were. I don't remember on whose side they were. And I think in a way this event touched me more because I'm not really sure what the problem there is. And so it's far enough for me to not identify with anything other than the fact that it's really tragic that something like that can happen in our world. And sort of the orchestras, they sort of bounce off each other a lot of musical ideas, and I think the progress of the piece is that at first you think that they're very different, and then they become much more similar to each other. So it's this idea that we feel very different than other people that are in other countries, other religions, other whatever. But then in the end, we all feel certain things, certain grief, certain pain is really the same for everyone, regardless of culture or values. I think they're basic values, maybe I would say, that are common to humanity. That's where the spatial element is like, you sort of feel like there's a duality, but in the end realize that it's not a true duality.
The music itself begins very passionately with a lot of feeling, and it starts with an extended cadenza for solo violin. Was there any particular inspiration in writing the opening?
That's a good question. Really kind of a light-hearted person usually. This is so serious. It's hard for me to think of it. Well, it's very passionate, Jewish, Israeli, so it has to be very. Everything I write ends up being very passionate, but I think it's very passionate because I'm very passionate. I was very passionate about this topic. Really, so that the last movement is this. We talked about it yesterday. It's almost like these winds in the desert. Sort of like I don't know, like listening to silence. And the opening cadenza is essentially that music, but instead of being in the last movement, it's sort of like an 8-part canon, which is like in a string orchestra situation, that's probably one of the most complex things you can do. But it opens with a solo person, so this I wrote it after I had the last movement, and sort of echoes that, but before you know it. So it sort of starts with a very, I would say metaphorically, it starts with a very intimate moment, right? The solo violin, maybe, if you want to think about a specific metaphor, maybe a mother of one of those children. But it ends with sort of a population of everyone feeling that thing.